At the beginning of the presentation, the final question of mine was whether you yourself take the trouble to memorize the poems from the literature program. I felt keenly conscious that the idea did not stir up, did not arouse profound enthusiasm on your part. Nor, I presume, has it been taken up with rapture even now, after my digging its virtue into ears for the better part of an hour. Prejudices die hard. However, those of you who will choose to evaluate the idea objectively, without bias, without impetuosity, will have to admit that it's an unquestionably crystal clear, quintessential win-win situation. Numerous multiple assets, no liabilities whatsoever. There is not a single downside to memorizing the poems from the literature program, no poetry in general. You seem to be at variance with what I said. Why? No time, no hay tiempo para eso. Debo admitir que es una buena razón. We're so busy, we have no time for anything these days, yet alone for memorizing and reciting poetry. Loco, 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 un completamente verdadero loco. Pero inofensivo, no me tengas miedo. Buena noticia, good news. Memorizing poetry is not time-consuming. No, I am serious. The key to memorizing poetry painlessly is to do it incrementally, in tiny bits, knocking a couple of lines and hooking them onto what you have already learned. For another thing, God forbid, I'm not calling on you to do even that at the expense of your family, friends, recreations, hobbies, but so much time is squandered, or at least not utilized to the full, each and every day, while gridlocked. The loads of time we waste stuck in a traffic jam. Seconds slowly tick into minutes, minutes sluggishly drag into hours. The ennui knows no limit. Fighting it is not in my power. While hitting the gym, working out on the treadmill, running nowhere, while jogging in the park, along the seashore, even better, while walking down the street, through the countryside, while overseeing tests in English in your class, or supervising mock exams in history and mathematics in God knows whose class. Thank you, Etty. A perverse waste of time. Unless you opt for cushioning the hefty blow, for sweetening the bitter cup, by combining the sickening duty with pleasure. It's always a good idea to carry around a poem or two in your bag when it's indecorous to take out your phone. You will always have time to peruse it. Or even better, to bring back into being what you have already learned. In one way or another, you go to the back of the class, take a comfortable seat, or what I always prefer to do, lounge on the wall, stretch your shoulders. Oh, it's always a good idea to square our shoulders. Let's do it together. Likewise, to take a deep breath in, breathe out, and let the music flow. Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. It's some visitor, I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, and satin rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating to some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer, said I, "O madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore." 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven from the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stand decorum of the countenance it wore, "Though the crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvel this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a further than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, never more." But the raven, still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking, what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I thought engaged in guessing, no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I said, divining with my head that is reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, ah, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting. Bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy foam from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never fleeting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted, nevermore. Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, divine and sublime. Can you believe that this celestial poem was not taken seriously by most American critics of his day? Even today, our contemporary critics, his compatriots, treat its author, if not contemptuously, then rather condescendingly. The loftiest panegyric they deign to bestow on him is the least talented genius. How do you like it? The undisputed father of the detective story, the author of dozens of masterpieces, the least talented genius. Verily, a prophet is never honored in his home place.